Glance Technologies owns and operates Glance Pay, a disruptive mobile payment technology now live in 16 cities in Canada and about to launch in the US. With revenues up 664% in the last quarter, Glance Technologies has the potential to be a worldwide leader in an industry projected to grow to $1.3 trillion in 3 years. Glance Technologies stock symbols are GLNFF in the US and GET in Canada. Find out more at glancepay.com.
You're listening to HowStreet.com radio, available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Welcome to HowStreet.com radio, the online source for market opinions. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is market historian Bob Hoye. He's the chief investment strategist for institutionaladvisors.com. Welcome back to the show, Bob.
Yeah, hi, Jim. Here we are. An interesting week in financial and political markets.
The Bank of Canada earlier this week did not raise rates, while the U.S. Fed says we still want to hike rates 7 or 8 times in the near future. Why the divergence in strategy or policy here?
They're both operating on the same theory, but that the central bank over a long period of time can influence interest rates. And my view is that when history shows that when you're in dynamic financial markets and interest rates go up, like when the boom gets underway, then the lead central bank will follow and raise its administered rate. And so this will go on. Now, the rise in interest rates, whether you look at the Treasury bill rate in the U.S., which is, the senior currency in the senior economy, has been outstanding, a very strong rise. Then in more globally, LIBOR 3 has been very strong rise. So it's not caused by central bank policy. It's caused by an increase in demand for short-term money for speculation. What's the speculation been in? Oh, stocks, Bitcoin. There's been a pop in industrial commodities recently. So the truth of the matter, Jim, is that central bankers followed market changes in interest rates. And if the guy at the Fed is saying they might have 5 or 6 more increases, he's just guessing. And in the case of the Bank of Canada, maybe they got an idea that if they raise their administered rates, it would strengthen the currency. And their faith is that a weakening dollar makes us all wealthy as all get out. So, it's supposed to stimulate the economy. But these theories have been around for a long time and fully employed, certainly in the last generation or so. But you can trace back the idea that there is some authority out there that can lower interest rates and everything will be well. I know one of the first ones of that is in a crash that went from 1618 to 23. And an idle brain, an intellectual guy there, looked at the hardship and said, oh, if interest rates were lower, we'd be all happy. And so this has been around for a long time. So anyways, no change in the Bank of Canada rate is what do they call them? A nothing burger. And the probability of further increases in the U.S. rate depends on what T-bills do. And so the way it goes is that officialdom gets itself in a tizzy about rising interest rates. And that's not the issue. The rising short rates, like the T-bill, is saying that the boom is on. And the instruction comes from when the T-bill rate turns down, and that is not yet there. I mean, you've got big momentum on the rise in short rates, but it's not over until it's over. So, what's the one in Japan that was sumo wrestling? It's not over until the fat guy flings. So, yeah, nothing burgers in Canada, and the rise in rates is on. But also we've been looking, as you know, for an increase in the stock market and in industrial commodity prices. Another bounce for them, which we're getting. As a matter of fact, nickel and aluminum have been very strong, but they may be strong enough that this move could take a rest for a while. So the positive stuff for the stock markets would have been another rally in industrial commodities, which we've had, further flattening of the yield curve, which we've had, and further rising of short rates, which is on. All these are sort of the things that go with the final stages of a boom. So what we're looking for now is any sort of setback to those. That would be a warning. Now, the other one is, speaking of industrial commodities, is crude oil, where you've had a strong rally, and the noise that the remnant of OPEC has been making about cutting back in production and all that manipulative stuff really hasn't been the driver of the rise in crude prices. It's, increasing general demand. So crude's been going up, and it's new highs for a number of years. As such that overnight Trump said something about it's too high and maybe the U.S. should release some of its stockpile, which actually, Jim, is a good idea, because now U.S. is becoming one of the bigger producers of petroleum products and one of the stronger exporters of petroleum products. So there's a lot of it, and these reserves in the shale structures are immense. So the idea goes way back, I guess, maybe to wartime, where the government should own some crude, and they've been, I guess, buying it and stuffing it into salt domes or something like that. That doesn't fit anymore. So if crude prices are high, the government should probably sell. As a matter of fact, they should come right out of it, because the reserves are so big and will continue to rise. So that's a good move. And then, of course, in Canada, energy things and pipelines just show some sort of a collective madness going on out there.
We'll have more with Bob Hoye right after the break.
I'm Kelly Jennings, CEO of PowerBand Solutions. PowerBand is a cloud-based provider of auction, inventory, and finance solutions that make buying, selling, and financing vehicles more efficient. PowerBand Solutions trades on the TSX Venture Exchange symbol PBX. For more information, please visit us at powerbandsolutions.com.
Hi, I'm Douglas Mason, President and CEO of Rainy Mountain Royalty Corp, RMO, on the TSX Venture Exchange. Rainy Mountain's Brunswick property is located in the Rideout Shear Zone in Ontario, with grab samples running as high as 32 grams per ton gold. A follow-up drill program to test numerous targets located by recent groundwork is planned for early 2018. Please visit our website at rmroyalty.com.
Welcome back. We're chatting with Bob Hoye. Bob, the battle between Alberta and BC over the Kinder Morgan Trans Mountain Pipeline continues. Now we have Alberta and Ottawa hinting that they might buy the pipeline outright and continue the construction themselves. Is this a good idea?
Oh, no. No, government shouldn't be involved in enterprise of any kind. But, the issue is a bigger, is quite big. The approval. Now, Trans Mountain Pipeline has been operating since 1953, and of course it had the approvals required. and it has had a very good operating history, and that is with now, 60-plus-year-old technology. And here we want to put in new pipeline, and it has approval. And it had the approval, and it's mainly a federal jurisdiction, but you had an election in the province of BC, and the Socialist Party got in a minority and depended upon 3 Green members. And this then puts enormous leverage into the system where you have people very superstitious about pipelines and tankers and stuff like that. So what you have here is a showdown between mob rule based upon superstition and emotions against the rule of law. And it is in the hands of the government, federal, to say, stop it, and impose its judgment on this one, which is already judged, and it became such a crisis that Prime Minister Trudeau came back from some sort of a meeting in Peru for last Sunday, and there was no decision made. And then there was even then an offer to lend money or grant money to the pipeline company. Well, that's not the issue. The issue is a rule of law. And will the country act on it? And it's actually, for anybody who's read anything about the history of politics, it is very frightening when a mob takes control of certain issues and defies the law, and then the government does not abide by the law. And otherwise you go into some sort of dreadful chaos. It took hundreds and hundreds of years to come up with the concept of responsible and accountable government for the protection of society general, and it's to protect society from individual criminals. And then the other part of a constitution is to protect society from those ambitious in government who would use the tools of government to impose its will and views upon the general public. And this is what's going on. So, and of course, Trudeau himself is a very naive man, and with some of his capers over the last year, it shows that there are no adults in the Prime Minister's office staff either. And now you've got this issue, and it is incumbent upon the federal government to back the law of the land and shut down these radical protesters. And it's fascinating to watch, but it's doing immense harm to the country, whereby people outside the country, and businessmen and industry, and look and say, hey, you can't deal with these people. They don't abide their own laws. And I know that, for example, one of the features of a trade agreement between Canada and Colombia is that Colombia, being considered a lesser country with less concerns about law, if you have a project going in Colombia, and if the government Department of Environment or Department of Mines doesn't abide by its own law, then the offended party can sue the Colombian government for up to $150 million. So here, now, why not apply that to Canada? The offended party, Trans Mountain, there should be some sort of a law so that you can sue to protect yourself from individuals or from regulatory bodies that are not abiding by their own laws. And this, I think, is something similar here, and it's going to be fascinating to see how it works out. But it's not just the provincial government, BC government, socialists that are out of line on this one. It's that with the federal government, the Liberals, who are essentially socialists, a large portion of their popular support depends upon radical environmentalists who are all agitated about this. So that's why the federal government doesn't want to make the hard decision, because it will lose its supporters. But it has to defend its own laws. But maybe there should be a law set up so that offended parties within Canada can sue the government for damages. I'd like to see that.
Well, the Trans-Pacific Partnership says you can do that.
I hope so.
We'll have more with Bob Hoye right after this.
Vatic Ventures Corp. is a potash exploration company focused on the Korat Basin in Thailand, the world's largest undeveloped potash resource. Vatic's management has extensive potash exploration and development experience in Thailand. Vatic will have marketing advantage compared to Western producers. Drill program commences this spring. Vatic trades on the TSX Venture, symbol VCV, and on Frankfurt, symbol V8V2. Visit our website, vaticventures.com.
Don't miss out. Stay informed. Receive the HowStreet.com weekly recap with thought-provoking podcasts, radio, and articles delivered to your inbox. Sign up for the HowStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage at HowStreet.com.
Welcome back. We're chatting with Bob Hoye. Bob, what's going on with gold right now? Is it going to become more popular?
Oh, it's been in the trading range. Their gold bugs have plenty of reasons to be bullish about it, because you've got a very aggressive and I would say idiotic central bank who have been pushing out credit, which would depreciate the dollar, and then as the gold bugs have it, that would drive gold up. But the thing is that when you're in a period of time when inflation in financial assets like stocks and bonds is the flavor of the day, then gold doesn't go up. So this is not my imagination at work, because on all the previous great financial bubbles, which the first one was the South Sea bubble in 1720, and the fifth one was the 1929 bubble, that during the final years of a financial mania, the real price of gold goes down and gold stocks are underperformers. And of course, the real price of gold reached a big, big high in that speculation in 2011 when all of our technical indicators went tilt, and the real price came down to a year ago on annual averages, and let's call it stabilizing and looking like it wants to go up. And this is what will probably happen, is once this financial mania in stocks and bonds completes, then the real price of gold will go up, and that then creates a bull market for the industry and a bull market for the stocks. But in between, if the inflation in financial assets ends and asset prices go down, well, the big stock market going down in the fall, gold stocks will go down with it. So we don't urge any big positions in the sector. We think that when the time comes, our indicators will be very reliable at really getting a good position when the right time comes. But the great thing, Jim, about a post-bubble contraction is that it sets up a new bull market for gold. And believe it or not, at some time, gold stocks will again be very speculative and a lot of fun and trading, and big money made. I'm looking forward to it.
Bob, thank you so much for chatting with us.
Well, there we are, Jim, and we'll look forward to next week.
My guest has been market historian Bob Hoye. He's the chief investment strategist for institutionaladvisors.com. You're listening to HowStreet.com radio. Find us on Twitter at TalkDigitalNet. You can forward questions to Bob or our other guests at info@HowStreet.com. And don't forget, you can also catch us on YouTube on Talk Digital Network. I'm Jim Goddard. Thanks for listening.
Comments made on HowStreet.com radio are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. HowStreet.com radio is a production of HowStreet Media Incorporated.